Hello and welcome. You're listening to the Healthy Moving Podcast, the show that empowers you to exercise less, but move more so you will feel better. I am your healthy moving enthusiast, Jen Hoffman from healthymoving.com. Today we're talking about something that most of us experience on the road to change. A lot of times we see it and think, oh no, this is a sign I'm heading in the wrong direction. But I'm going to convince you today that it's actually a normal part of the journey. Plus, I'm going to answer a listener question about getting your kids to go for walks. Thanks so much for joining me today, friends. So I can't remember if I've ever mentioned this before or not, but I actually record the podcast in my closet. Yes, there's clothes hanging all around me. My mic sits on a little tray that some people would probably use for breakfast in bed, although it just serves as a mic stand in my house. And my laptop sits on the floor where, of course, you know, I'm sitting on the floor as well. That's one of my favorite things to do, sit on the floor. I normally don't mind being in here in the closet, but today I'm actually really happy to be in here because just outside the door is total chaos. You see, we are, as many of you know, expecting our third child in a few months. That means that we are making space in our home for a new baby. For those of you who've ever tried to organize a closet or a desk, or anyone who's ever been through a remodel of some part of your house, you know this phase that I'm talking about. This phase where it gets worse before it gets better, where nothing is where it belongs and everything is everywhere. It kind of makes you want to run away and hide. Coincidentally, I just so happened to be starting a new challenge with a whole new group of coachees for my Healthy Moving Coaching and Challenge program. This challenge is designed all to help improve alignment. We start at the feet. But there's something funny that happens to people whenever I tell them to point their feet straight ahead, the outside edges of the feet to point straight ahead. This happens to everyone because most of us don't have our feet aligned properly all the time. But I get flooded in the first few days with emails from people who say, okay, my feet are lined up, but now my knees feel weird. My hips feel funny. Hey, Jen, I got my feet pointed in the right direction, but my low back feels really wonky. Am I doing something wrong? I realized when I read about the 10th email from someone saying, it doesn't hurt, but it just feels really uncomfortable, that is exactly where I'm at with the process of making space in my home for the baby. When we try to restore order, when we try to get things in a more healthy direction, whether that's something actually in our physical life, like organizing a closet or doing a remodel or making space for a baby, or something that we're trying to change in our health, the process of change often involves a really messy phase. A phase where everything feels uncomfortable, where it's tempting to think, this can't possibly be right. I must not be headed in the right direction because this feels so strange. But friends, I'm here to tell you today that sometimes you have to make a mess in order to clean up. I know it's not the most comforting realization, and it means the process to change is uncomfortable. It means we have to go through this state where everything we own, including our beliefs, are all laid out before us. We have to pick them up again and choose, is this something that I'm ready to get rid of? Is this something that's still serving me? Am I going to keep this? And how does this fit in to the new picture that I'm trying to paint here? I know it's really uncomfortable. It isn't change if it doesn't feel at least a little bit strange. But oftentimes when we get to this point, we want to turn and run in the other direction. But we are where we are, whether it's with our alignment or with the state of our closet, because what we've been doing isn't working for us. So today I'm inviting you to embrace the mess. I'm also encouraging myself. This is part of the process. It's okay. It's not a sign that you're doing anything wrong. And a few more steps down the road, you're going to find order and health and organization that serves you so well, that's going to help you show up for your life in the best possible way. So this week, just remember with me, sometimes you have to make a mess in order to clean up. Okay, I also want to just tell you before I head to the Q&A section that there's still plenty of time to join us for this challenge, this summer challenge, 6-week challenge that we're doing. If you're interested in joining with a group of like-minded people looking to improve their health so they can feel better in and about their body, I would love to work with you. Head to healthymoving.com/coaching for all the details. All right, I'll be back in just a moment with this week's Q&A. Today's question comes to us from Lynn. Lynn says, "Dear Jen, I am the mom of a 3-year-old and a 4-month-old. I absolutely love that your kids do so much walking. I can't imagine how you helped that to happen, though. Could you give me some of your best tips for encouraging my kids to be good walkers? Thanks so much." Lynn, this is a great question. And I just want to say at the start, these aren't surefire tips, and I don't think you have to do all of them, but they're just meant to help inspire you, to help give you some thoughts about how you might approach this thing, because walking with kids can be a lot like herding cats. So about 50% of it is the mindset that you have going into it, and 50% of it is things you do to foster their excitement and love of walking. So these are just, like I said, the things that I did that I think helped contribute to my kids being walkers. The first thing is that ever since they were little, we just really haven't been a stroller family. Neither of my kids really enjoyed riding in the stroller, so that definitely made it easy for us to make this decision. But we did not create a habit of them sitting while we're walking. For as much as possible, we have always carried them in arms or in some kind of a carrier. I think it changes how they experience the world and the way they see things to just become part of your moving your body through space. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that we really understand that a walk by myself or a walk with just my husband and I is going to be paced very differently than a walk with the kids. It's really funny because at some points in the walk, we're struggling to keep up with them. Right now, I have an almost 3-year-old and an almost 6-year-old. Sometimes in the walk, we're chasing them. We're all at a bit of a jog. And then other times in the walk, it feels like we cannot get them to move forward. But we know this going into our evening walk. So it sets our expectations that, hey, this isn't going to be a walk where we get our best time in a mile. We know, hey, we're going to have some parts where we're going quickly and some parts where we slow down. The way you think about it really impacts all of your enjoyment. And that's the third thing. You really have to enjoy the process. If you look at the walk as kind of something that you have to do, or you look at it as a strain, or it's a struggle or an annoyance that your kids are there and not going at the pace that you want, they pick up on that. So you really have to kind of go into it thinking, I'm cultivating a skill in them and in myself, and we're going to take it at whatever pace we have to that works for all of us, that we can all find a certain level of enjoyment in the walk. And the last tip I want to give you is try to make the route and the conversation on the route as interesting as possible. I will admit I'm pretty spoiled. I live somewhere where my kids absolutely love to walk in Central Florida. We live not too far from Disney World, and they love walking at all the resorts and all the amazing places we have to walk here. So my kids get a different path pretty much every night of the week when we go on our family walks. And our family walks in the evenings are for about 3 to 4, some nights even 5 miles. So generally, the 3-year-old is carried for some of the time and walks for some of the time and runs for some of the time. The almost 6-year-old, she is a trooper. She walks pretty much the whole way. She will occasionally ask to be carried, but she's been walking for a long time. So what I will also close with is, it gets better. If you keep cultivating the habit, if you stick with it through the somewhat uncomfortable phases, I promise you'll just kind of raise kids who just understand that walking is important. Talk to them about how good it is for their body, and you'll really find that as they get older, it gets much better, and then you'll have some really great walkers. And I'm telling you, walks with the kids, they are a really amazing bonding experience. So stick with it. Okay, I hope that helps, Lynn. For everyone else, you know I love answering your questions. If you have a question you'd like me to answer on a future episode, feel free to call me anytime at 201-580-MOVE, or you can head over to healthymovingpodcast.com, and there's a link in the show notes that you can click a little button that says leave me a message. That'll get me a message as well so I can answer your question. As my way of saying thanks, if I use your question on a future episode, I'll send you a little something in the mail. I would love your feedback on the show. Would you please head to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and review? It helps me understand how I can make the show better for you, and it helps other people to find the show. Of course, if you're enjoying the show, I'd also greatly appreciate it if you'd share it with your friends. There's links over at Healthy Moving Podcast to make that easy for you. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, friends, keep moving.